Today we're going to go back and look at those exponent rules that we've already covered, but now we're going to look at them with rational exponents. Just a quick reminder, we've been talking a lot about these, but rational means fraction. So when we talk about a rational exponent, it means you can have fractions up in the exponents. Lucky for us, those rational exponents follow all those same rules that we've already gone over. So we talked about if you multiply things at the same base, you add their exponents. If you divide things at the same base, you subtract their exponents. Right down here, a power to a power, you multiply them. If you have parentheses, it doesn't matter if it's timesing like that one is or dividing like that one is. Everything on the inside is just raised to that power. If you have a negative exponent, we take the reciprocal right here, right? And if you have anything with a zero power, it's equal to 1. So we know all those exponent rules, but all we're going to do is just show how they still apply when you have rational exponents. Here's an example, right? This 5 to the 6 times 5 squared. So just use our exponent rule. Remember, the base stays the same, and we add the exponent. 6 plus 2 is 8. And that's something we've already done. We should feel good about that. Now this gets a little bit trickier. Now I have 5 to the 1/2 times 5 to the 1/4. But the idea is the same. The rule is if I multiply things at the same base, the base stays the same, and I add their exponents. So the trickiest part of this whole thing is I have to add a 1/2 and a 1/4 together. But we know how to do that. Right? Get a common denominator times top and the bottom by 2. We have 2/4 plus 1/4. We add them together. This answer would be 5 to the 3/4. Right, so keep the base the same, add the exponents. The tricky part is that your exponents will be fractions now. All right, so if you look at this one, these are multiplied together. So I have 8 to the 3rd to the 5th. So the rule is when you have a power to a power that you multiply them together. So 8 to the 15th times by 3 to the, again, you got 4 to the 5th power. So multiply those together. We're done. So if you have one with rational exponents like we have over here, same thing. I go 8 to the 1/2. Right, raised to the 2nd power. So I go 8 to the, you're going to have to multiply a 1/2 by 2. When I do that, I end up with 1 times 2, 2 times 1. I end up with 2 over 2. So it comes out to be 8 to the 1st. Times by 3, and in that case I have to go 1/3 to the 2nd power. So again, the rule is to multiply them. Multiply those, I get 2/3. So again, the idea here is that these same exponent rules, we've already done this problem over here. Like we know the rules. The rules don't change if you have rational exponents. It's still the same. The only difference is now that you just have fractions, but the rules still apply exactly the same as we did before. All right, so our rule was if we were dividing things at the same base, the base stays the same, and I go top minus bottom. I go 7 minus 2. I subtract the exponents. So that would come out to be 5 to the 5th power. Okay, so I come over here. Now I've got rational exponents. Be really careful with this one. If I have 5, that's the same as 5 to the 1st power. So my base stays the same, and I subtract the exponents. And the trickiest part here is the subtracting. So let's figure out 1 minus 2/3 is. You can make this 1 over 1, 1 over 1, get a common denominator, so times by 3 on the top and the bottom. So we get 3 over 3 minus 2 over 3. Now we can subtract them, right? 3 minus 2 is 1. So this comes out to be 5 to the 1/3. So again, a lot of times the trickiest part for most of us is just working with the fractions, but the exponent rules remain the same. Last example here. On this one, again, I've got a negative exponent, plus I have a power to a power. So I'm going to start out just by, right, negative exponents mean you flip it over. So I'm going to do that first. You don't have to. You could raise them both to the negative 1/4 power if you wanted to. Okay, so now I'm going to have 1 over, and I take 2 to the 4th to the 1/4. That's a power to a power. So I've got to times 4 by 1/4. That one works out nice because I end up with 4 over 4, which is really just 1. Okay, do the same thing with 3. I have 3 to the 4th to the 1/4. So again, I've got to multiply 4 by 1/4. Well, that ends up being the same thing, right? 4 over 4, so it ends up being 3 to the 1st power. So those same rules, right? Negative exponent, you still flip it over. One thing to be careful with I see a lot is you're not flipping over the 1/4. It's the whole thing, right? We took that whole thing and moved it to the bottom of the fraction. The fraction is still a 1/4. It's just a positive. So be careful with that. So the assignment today, all you're going to do is just that. You're going to go through and practice just applying those exponent rules that we already have, but they'll be rational. You'll have fractions that you'll have to take into account. But other than that, it's going to be just like we've done in the past. This is also just a really good review of those exponent rules, making sure we have those down. Thanks, guys.